The Los Angeles courtroom froze in stunned silence when the defense introduced a shocking allegation: claims that Christian Combs had targeted underage guests at events described as so-called freak-offs. The tension snapped instantly. Camera shutters erupted as Combs abruptly shoved back his chair, his face drained of color. Without a word, no glance at the judge, no acknowledgement of his attorneys, he stormed past his own legal team and vanished through the courtroom doors. It was the kind of moment reporters wait years to witness. And it all hinged on one explosive assertion: accusations involving minors at the infamous yacht gatherings. That sudden exit wasn't panic, it was damage control. Because the moment children were mentioned, the narrative shifted from scandal to something far darker, raising stakes well beyond anything the headlines had revealed before.
I ain't hear about that raid. I only heard about the LA and Miami raid. But you feel like the feds, they released that video over King Combs' comments.
Oh man, I've worked in law enforcement for 27 years, and I had the opportunity to see HIDA. It's a place, whereas they have the state, the feds, the NYPD, the Department of Corrections, and the state police. Yo, this place could be half of a basketball court. That's where they just got lines of computers with officers of all different people and officers just on the internet. Whoever's over that case, whoever's working that case, don't you know they saw that and took it to their boss?
It was a dust from us little Phoenix.
Me and my dog.
Me
and my son right here. Firstborn.
Everyone wanted to be around.
His name is Bailey.
It exhausted them.
Look at him.
People just couldn't leave.
Who's your daddy?
Especially the girls. Christ.
You know.
Girls. It was embarrassing.
Sit.
Hard just to get him to call somebody. He like, it's too much work. Like, so happy birthday, Christian. Thank you everybody for coming and cheers.
Don't stop.
27. 27.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
We don't got no job.
We don't got no job.
And we don't got nothing to do.
And we don't got nothing to do. Cause we have to do that today.
To support the explosive claims, attorneys for Christian Combs reportedly introduced transcripts from audio recordings obtained during the investigation. The recordings, allegedly captured by a music producer inside a makeshift yacht studio, feature a woman identified as Grace O'Marque, recounting deeply disturbing experiences. In the transcripts, she describes rejecting unwanted advances that she claims later escalated into violence after consuming tequila shots she believes may have been spiked. According to her account, Grace had been hired as a steward aboard a yacht chartered by Sean Diddy Combs in late December 2022. She says she expected a quiet, family-style charter, serving meals and drinks to guests. Instead, she alleges she walked into an environment of non-stop partying, a constant flow of suspected sex workers, and cocktails so powerful that guests were reportedly collapsing after just one drink.
Son of embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been accused of sexual assault. A lawsuit filed in LA Superior Court on Thursday accuses Christian King Combs of sexually assaulting and possibly drugging a woman in December 2022. The woman says it happened while she was working on a yacht that Diddy had chartered. This comes just over a week after homes owned by Diddy were raided in LA and Miami as part of a federal human trafficking investigation. Neither the attorneys for Combs or Diddy have commented on the new legal complaint.
In a new lawsuit, Sean Diddy Combs' second son, Christian Combs, is accused of sexually assaulting a crew member working on a super yacht. That suit was filed here in Los Angeles. Attorneys representing former yacht stewardess Grace O'Marque say she was sexually assaulted on board a yacht when she was 25 years old in December of 2022 by Diddy's son, rapper Christian Combs. They say his dad, Sean Combs, leased the yacht and had full control of its staff and the premises. O'Marque's lawyers say Combs turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment. They stated, quote, Defendant Sean Combs fostered and encouraged an environment of debauchery. There was always a party atmosphere filled with suspected sex workers, suspected laced alcohol, violence, and sheer disrespect of women and the yacht's crew. The lawsuit also contains photos of bruises that O'Markey's lawyers say she suffered when Christian Combs violently grabbed her and attempted to force her to perform a sex act. They also included a transcript of an audio recording which they say captures O'Markey being forced to consume suspected laced shots of tequila.
The carefree clip comes just days after a yacht steward filed a lawsuit against Christian, alleging he sexually assaulted her in December 2022.
The victim in the case has produced audio recordings that allegedly shows forcing himself upon her and that he wouldn't take no for an answer.
The woman says it all happened during what was supposed to be a wholesome family excursion with Christian and his father.
Check this out, y'all. This is Diddy. This is my son, King Combs. I've been watching my pop since I was a kid. And I'm proud of you, boy.
She says Diddy was the one chartering the yacht for the trip.
This lawsuit is bad for Diddy. He may be able to get out of it, but the optics are terrible when he's already facing a criminal investigation. This may be the nail in the coffin.
In a newly filed lawsuit in Los Angeles, Christian Combs, the second son of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, is accused of sexually assaulting a crew member aboard a luxury superyacht. Attorneys representing former yacht steward Grace O'Markey allege that in December 2022, when she was 25 years old, Christian Combs sexually assaulted her while she was actively on duty. According to the lawsuit, Sean Combs had leased the yacht and allegedly exercised full control over both the staff and the premises. Grace's legal team claims the trip, initially presented as a wholesome, family-style charter, rapidly descended into what they describe as a hedonistic nightmare. In the filing, attorneys allege that Sean Combs fostered and encouraged an atmosphere of extreme debauchery, marked by non-stop partying, the presence of suspected sex workers, alcohol believed to be laced, violence, and blatant disregard for women and the yacht's crew. The lawsuit further includes photographs of bruises Grace says she sustained when Christian Combs allegedly grabbed her violently and attempted to force a sexual act, along with an audio transcript that reportedly captures her being pressured to consume tequila she believes had been spiked.
Focusing on Christian Combs. O'Markey says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but that he would come onto the yacht in the evening to party. And on December 28, 2022, Christian reportedly arrived very intoxicated and then proceeded to pressure O'Markey to take shots of tequila. She did. Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift studio. O'Markey alleges that Christian kissed her neck, kissed her face, as he groped her legs, breasts, and private areas. O'Markey reportedly told Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that." O'Markey then says that she told Christian she couldn't stay with him unless it was approved by a supervisor, all of whom she knew would be asleep at the time, so this was a way for her to get out of the situation. She claims that Christian said, "Who can I talk to? I'm going to say I requested you right now." O'Markey then says she responded with, quote, "Well, you can take your hand off my ass for the first thing."
O'Markey says this is what happened next. She says she tried to go back to work, but Christian ends up finding her and wants her to find him a place to sleep for the night in the yacht. So she takes him to the cinema room of the yacht. And that is when she claims Christian stopped her from leaving, groped her, took off all of his clothes, and tried to force her to perform oral sex on him. Now, she says she was allegedly able to fight him off. Someone walks into the room, and then she was able to leave. And she said when she reported this to the captain, according to her, the captain berates her. And she alleges that the captain may have even been paid off by Sean Combs to keep quiet about what happened. And I will tell you what's really interesting about this complaint, embedded in the complaint are photographs that purport to be O'Markey's arms with bruises on them. And that is really interesting. You don't usually see that in a complaint like this. All right, so I want to bring on right now criminal defense attorney Mauricio Padilla, friend of the show. He's represented some very high-profile defendants in high-profile cases. Good to see you once again. So I don't think we've had a chance to talk about this lawsuit, and now that the news is reporting that Christian has been served with papers here, why is that significant?
Well, it's significant because anytime that they have the opportunity to continue to remind the public of the malfeasance of Diddy, of Diddy's son, of anything related to sexually inappropriate behavior, sexual assault, it helps. It helps the government continue to, lay out the narrative of how bad Diddy was, how bad Diddy's son was. So I think it's consistent with, what they've been doing, putting it out there and really destroying his character. I'm not saying that he didn't do anything to deserve it. I'm saying it's consistent with what they're doing, whether it's the government or the lawyers that are suing him civilly.
According to the lawsuit, Grace alleges that Christian Combs boarded the yacht visibly intoxicated and pressured her into taking multiple tequila shots. She claims that what followed quickly escalated, alleging that he groped her legs and chest and attempted to force her into performing oral sex. Grace states she resisted and managed to escape, believing the ordeal was over. But the complaint alleges that Christian later tracked her down to a movie theater that had been converted into a sleeping area, blocked the exit, and assaulted her again, until another individual finally intervened. The filing describes the aftermath as emotionally devastating. Grace alleges she has suffered severe panic attacks, suicidal ideation, an eating disorder, and even seizures as a result of the incident. The lawsuit includes photographs of bruising on her arms, along with audio recordings cited as supporting evidence. Grace has filed suit against both Christian Combs and Sean Diddy Combs, alleging sexual assault, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and premises liability, asserting that the environment in which the incident allegedly occurred was controlled and enabled by those in power.
To Miss Omarki, Jones taped this event with her. Yes, the lawsuit provides transcripts of audio recordings, and these audio recordings purportedly show, or you can hear, kissing sounds, her telling Combs not to touch her, her allegedly asking about whether she was drugged. Now, we haven't heard these tapes here on Law and Crime yet, but if they are what they purport to be, that is a huge piece of evidence. And remember, when we're talking a civil case, when we're talking lawsuits, the burden of proof is much lower than a criminal case. It's just preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not that this happened. So the civil suit accuses Christian of assault, battery, sexual assault, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They're a big part of this lawsuit. She goes into the mental anguish that she has gone through, the emotional harm that she has suffered as a result of that. It's important in order to prove.
Inside the courtroom, Grace's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, moved swiftly to outline what he described as deeply disturbing evidence. He guided the jury through audio transcripts that allegedly reference cocktails laced with GHB and other so-called date rape drugs. Blackburn suggested these recordings were only part of a larger cache, hinting that additional tapes exist, materials he says he is prepared to aggressively fight to have admitted into evidence. Then came the moment that stunned the room. Blackburn alleged that members of the Combs family had a pattern of involvement in what he referred to as freak-offs, events he claimed included minors. The accusation instantly escalated the proceedings. In response, Aaron Dyer, representing Christian Combs, forcefully rejected the claims, calling them lewd, baseless, and entirely fabricated. Dyer vowed to file a motion to dismiss, insisting the allegations had no grounding in fact. Despite the sharp denials, the courtroom tension was unmistakable. With transcripts, recordings, and competing narratives now on record, the case has left both jurors and the public confronting the sheer seriousness of accusations that, if proven, would carry devastating consequences.
That if we're talking about additional charges and additional defendants, those are probably two of the more likely. And Christian, of course, was the subject of a civil lawsuit where there was a sexual assault allegation naming him directly. So I think if we're going to cast a bit of a wider net, people are talking about family members, other celebrities, maybe some employees like Christina Forum, but I think the most likely would be those two sons.
Why do you think it's the most likely about those two? Just because of the recordings, the allegations against him? What are you thinking?
I think so. I think obviously they're just civil allegations and those cases are going to be put on hold while the criminal case plays out. But, there is some smoke there. And obviously, there's a presumption of innocence and there's a lower standard in a civil case. But you have someone who's been named directly as someone who participated in a sexual assault. And everything else has been rumors and speculation. But here you at least have one verified complaint.
So what exactly were these so-called freak-offs? According to prosecutors, these were not casual parties or spontaneous gatherings. They are described as carefully orchestrated sex performances allegedly overseen by Sean Diddy Combs, with assistance from members of his inner circle. Court filings tied to a Manhattan indictment characterize the events as meticulously planned encounters where participants were allegedly coerced into drug-fueled sexual acts while being recorded. Prosecutors claimed the environments were controlled, the substances were deliberate, and the purpose was exploitation, not entertainment. The lawsuit goes even further, portraying Combs' children not as passive observers, but as alleged facilitators. According to the allegations, they helped recruit young girls, some reportedly underage, distributed cash, arranged venues, supplied materials, and in some instances allegedly filmed the encounters alongside their father. It is critical to emphasize that these claims remain allegations and have not been proven in court. However, if substantiated, prosecutors argue they would reveal an organized system operating behind closed doors, one far darker than the public image ever suggested.
I believe it was Justin, Diddy, and G walked into the bathroom. Gunshots rang out. Little Rod woke up so scared. Justin and Diddy left. Little Rod went in the bathroom, saw G out all over the place, literally called the ambulance, carried him out. It was carnage and everything, put him in the ambulance. The police showed up. Little Rod cited that in his lawsuit, and then they asked for the LAPD's report. The LAPD just released an 18-page report with no mention of any carnage or anyone that actually got shot.
There's also allegations that he actually partook in these freak-offs and potentially drugged women. This is something Lil Rod is saying. How would the feds go about proving something like that? I know that's the pattern we've seen across a lot of these civil suits, that women allege Diddy, for instance, drugged them, but now Lil Rod's also pointing the finger at Justin Combs, saying he drugged some of these women. How would the feds then go to look further into that?
Yeah, Lil Rod's lawsuit is interesting in that there are many defendants. We talked about Christina Horam, right? Some of the allegations that came out in Lil Rod's lawsuit was Christina, of course, being Combs' right-hand woman. She allegedly had the fanny pack with the drugs that were provided to the sex workers, or that there are the allegations directly against Justin as well. So whenever you're proving something like this, obviously, you're going to rely on the testimony of witnesses. It could be an independent witness, because the sex workers, even though they're participants in a sex act, they won't necessarily be charged, or I don't think they're going to be defendants in the lawsuit, if the allegation is that they were forced to perform these sex acts and it wasn't just a commercial transaction.
These charges cast a chilling shadow over Christian Combs' legal exposure.
On September
16, 2024, a Manhattan grand jury indicted Sean Diddy Combs on multiple counts, including racketeering and sex
Prosecutors
trafficking.
allege he manipulated women,
Prosecutors
some as
allege
young
that
as 9,
Combs orchestrated a
into
years-long
freak-offs
scheme in which
with paid
women,
male sex
some
workers,
reportedly
used
minors,
ketamine
were
and other
manipulated
drugs
into
to ensure
participating in
compliance,
so-called
and
freak-offs
filmed
alongside
everything.
paid male
They
sex
say his
workers.
empire
According to the
spanned arson,
indictment,
bribery,
prosecutors
and
claim
kidnapping
drugs were
charges.
used to
But it
impair
all
resistance
hinged on
and
sex
ensure
acts
compliance,
at these
while the
events.
encounters were allegedly filmed. Beyond the sexual assault allegations, the filing asserts that the broader criminal enterprise included offenses such as bribery, arson, and kidnapping. But at the center of the case, prosecutors argue, were the illicit sexual acts allegedly organized, controlled, and concealed through these events. It is critical to note that these remain allegations. Their truth, or lack thereof, will be determined solely through evidence tested in court. However, if proven, prosecutors contend the indictment would expose a coordinated operation far more serious than anything previously alleged in the public eye.
It was at I believe to be one of P. Diddy's freak-offs.
Now, singer-songwriter Tania Wallace told TMZ's Harvey Levin for the Tubi special, The Downfall of Diddy, Inside the Freak-Offs. She believes she witnessed underage victims at one of Diddy's 2018 parties.
I'm looking like, are those midgets? adults because people were trying to, it's people over them. Like, it's people trying to hide what they're doing.
Adults who are little people, or are you talking about minors?
Am I gonna get in trouble? I don't want to say I witnessed any of that crazy stuff, but we all have common sense. Little people that's not supposed to be there.
You're talking about underage people.
It's a shame.
Is this woman, Tania, is she really saying that there were minors involved in these freak-offs?
That is exactly what she's saying, Billy.
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise, and they actually named it in the indictment, the Combs Enterprise. And they said that this enterprise consisted of him as the alleged leader, his employees, assistants, staff, allegedly, that were able to procure women and alleged male sex workers to engage in performances for his own sexual gratification. Where it differs from a mob indictment, it has all the elements of putting together this racketeering allegation of all these moving pieces using resources from his businesses. But the fact that this is about an allegation of sexual gratification being accomplished by alleged human trafficking, it's one of the most unique indictments I've ever seen in this area, in the area of sex crimes.
First of all, he is not steering away from the idea of the freak-offs. They seem to be saying, these were called freak-offs, we're gonna call them freak-offs, but they're not illegal.
Yeah.
But one of the charges he faces is transportation to engage in prostitution. If he's saying, yeah, I hired sex workers, but if he's transporting them and paying for them, I feel like it's gonna be very, very difficult to argue he's not guilty of that charge. We talked last time about how he tried to get it dismissed from the case, basically saying it's a racist charge, but it's going in.
Yeah, so Diddy just walked into the courtroom like he normally does. He hugged all of his attorneys. He, dabbed up Mark Agnifilo. I think he was kind of searching in the gallery to see if he had family there, because when court had first started, nobody was there from his family. And I think he kind of looks forward, and I'm just speculating here, obviously I'm not in his mind, but I think he looks for people, especially his mom, to be inside that courtroom in the gallery. But today it was just Justin Combs all by himself. I think in the moment when he had first walked into the courtroom, it was a little bit after it had started, he kind of was like clearing his throat. I don't know if it was because he actually had to clear his throat or if it was to get his father's attention, just to let him know that he is here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but Diddy did turn around a couple of times. I don't know if it was to see if more of his family came in or to see, just to kind of like check in with Justin during that, but he seems to always kind of be more excited to see his family inside that.
Before these allegations surfaced, Christian Combs was steadily building an identity separate from his father's legacy. In 2022, he released a single that gained traction on the R&B charts and launched a sneaker brand, Younger Luxury, signaling clear ambition and creative direction. At the time, the narrative surrounding him was one of growth, independence, and promise. Now, that momentum has been eclipsed by controversy. Social media quickly turned into a battleground, some fans rushing to defend him, others condemning him outright, and many demanding that he address the allegations directly on camera. Christian, however, has remained silent, choosing to speak only through statements issued by his attorney. But in a court of public opinion, silence carries its own weight. And following his abrupt and highly visible courtroom exit, many observers argue that the absence of a personal response has only intensified speculation, proving that, in moments like these, what isn't said can resonate louder than any statement ever could.
The father of 7 also broke his silence on social media, posting these photos of his 17-month-old daughter with the caption, quote, "Happy Easter from baby love." Diddy's 26-year-old son, Christian, who was handcuffed and questioned during the LA raid, also posted for the first time. He says, quote, "Stop with the caps," which is slang for lies.
There's a whole public relations side of this. Diddy is gonna want to put up a front of an innocent person. And sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Right now, investigators are going through the evidence that they seized. What they're really looking for are videos of the alleged sexual abuse. If prosecutors have that information, we're talking about days or weeks before Diddy is charged. He may go to prison for the rest of his life.
Inside the home, federal agents can be seen using a drone. Then the video shows Diddy's son Christian with his hands in the air, pressed against the wall, then handcuffed. Diddy's son Justin then appears with his hands on his head. The agents then appear to take him down a hallway. The release clip ends with what appears to be another man who is dragged out of the home and on the driveway by agents. Photos of the aftermath show Diddy's sons Christian and Justin on the lawn of the LA home while agents seemingly continued their search. Justin Combs' mom released a statement along with the video slamming the federal agents for the way they handled the raid. The statement reads, quote, "The overzealous and overtly militarized force used against my sons Justin and Christian is deplorable. If these were the sons of a non-black celebrity, they would have not been handled with the same aggression. The attempt to humiliate and terrorize these innocent young black men is despicable."
I'm not surprised she posted it. She has to, they have to control the narrative. And do their best to control the narrative, and frankly, that's her right if she has that data that to do what she wants. I don't think it helped the situation. I don't think it helped her son or Sean Diddy. I think it may have just you still have human beings you're dealing with on both sides of the table, and basically kind of amping this up. I don't think that solves anything for anybody. Also, it's a matter of, is the public going to be sympathetic to a billionaire and his problems and his issues? This isn't something that happened, in an unfortunate instance in a lower socioeconomic area of Los Angeles or New York or Cleveland. This is in Hollywood with a $50 million mansion with luxury cars out front, and dealing with a billionaire, and then they had another one in Miami. I don't think the American people or the public are like having a whole lot of sympathy for anybody right.
The next phase of Christian Combs' civil case now hinges on a single decision, a motion to dismiss. His attorney, Aaron Dyer, argues that the lawsuit filed by Grace is fundamentally flawed, claiming there is no verifiable metadata attached to the audio recordings, no documentation proving minors were present, and no conclusive evidence that the tequila shots were tampered with. If the judge agrees, the case could be dismissed before it ever reaches a jury, but the stakes cut both ways. Grace's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, maintains that the evidence presented is sufficient to move forward. If the court sides with him, the case would enter discovery, a process that could force both sides to turn over emails, guest lists, yacht manifests, and internal communications, and potentially require witnesses and participants to testify under oath. Discovery alone could take years. And as the legal process unfolds behind the scenes, the public narrative continues to accelerate, fueled by Christian's abrupt courtroom exit, relentless media coverage, and a spotlight that shows no signs of dimming anytime soon.
I was upgraded from my last one. Risha, Keisha, and Joy. And I ain't tripping if you dip it and Joy.
Shut and Mike.
I was locked 23 and 1.
And 1.
Now I ball like 23
and 1. And 1.
No, check that shit and all that.
Right now he getting in practice shots. He getting practice shots because we got the legend in the building.
Yeah, you already know what it is, man.
Christian Combs, King, the one and only.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get right into it though. Music, that's good.
Yeah, I got my new music, Legacy, dropping. It's about to be crazy.
When is dropping? Let us know. Let us know some exclusive
info.
on
the 15th, October 15th.
Right.
When you see this, you know it might be out.
Nah, you gonna see it tomorrow. He working hard. This dropping tomorrow.
And Cardi's dropping soon. It's gonna be a visual.
But I keep it real. Ever since we've been in LA like 4 years, we've been running to you, like hearing that, see you grow, like from developing like artists to like just being cool. At first we met you, like we just knew you was cool. Then you started dropping music. Like,
what role do you think it's possible Christian Combs to play in his father's criminal case?
The government loves superseding indictments. The government loves indicting your relatives. Why? Nothing is worse. Right now, Diddy's sitting in a jail cell. What could be worse? The thought of your son also sitting in a jail cell. So if they can prove it and they have him committing crimes and they can involve him in a superseding indictment, I don't see why they wouldn't. They do it all the time in narco cases and in other cases that I've worked on. And it seems to me like Diddy wasn't are never created these broad defined lines between his children and the alleged illegal acts that he was committing. So it's completely possible that they could get wrapped up in a superseding indictment.
According to court filings, these events allegedly drew an astonishing range of attendees, from foreign dignitaries to religious figures, underscoring just how insulated and untouchable the operation appeared. Meanwhile, the federal case against Sean Diddy Combs is accelerating toward a scheduled May 5, 2025 trial in Manhattan. With jury selection fast approaching, prosecutors have indicated they plan to present testimony from at least 5 accusers, including Cassie Ventura, who settled her civil lawsuit in 2023. The government is also expected to call propensity witnesses, individuals who will testify about alleged freak-offs and other misconduct, to argue that the behavior followed a consistent and deliberate pattern over time. While Christian Combs' civil case in Los Angeles is not directly tied to the New York prosecution, it has become part of a widening narrative, one that prosecutors say points to a family ecosystem where abuse was normalized and protected. For Grace, the fight is far from over. Her lawsuit is not only about financial compensation, it is about accountability. She says she wants acknowledgement that powerful people broke the law, and that silence, influence, and wealth should not place anyone beyond reach. Her case stands as a stark reminder of the risks faced by those who challenge entrenched power, and why these allegations, if proven, could reshape far more than a single legacy.
For our Brady daily and consistent content, let's get straight into this video. If Christian Combs isn't working with Diddy on the side when it comes to violating BOP rules and contacting the Sons, if Christian Combs isn't working with Kanye West, who's doing all of these crash outs and going to his house, accepting gifts from Kanye, if Christian Combs not trying to jump Ray J, or trying to put up these happy birthday messages and dead reality TV shows, this man is also now officially being served for significant allegations of SA on a boat on a yacht that he...
Statement to ET, Diddy and Christian's attorney said, "This complaint is filled with manufactured lies and irrelevant facts," adding, "We will be filing a motion to dismiss this outrageous claim." The new lawsuit comes as Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, spoke out on the Art of Dialogue YouTube channel, making new claims about Diddy's notoriously wild parties.
People know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, all kind of crazy. I don't think it's only celebrities going to be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there.
This saga leaves more questions than answers. Can Christian Combs ever fully clear his name after that shocking courtroom exit? Will he ever escape the shadow of the alleged freak-offs? And if minors were truly involved, what does that say about the unchecked privilege that allowed these parties to occur? If you've been following this story, hit like and subscribe to stay on top of every twist. Share your thoughts in the comments. Does Christian's walkout suggest guilt, or is it simply a son fighting to protect his reputation? Either way, we'll continue digging through court records, sealed recordings, and every shocking development until the final verdict drops. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you in the next update.